After 5 years of marriage, my husband was in a tragic accident. When he woke up, he smiled at his ex and whispered, "I knew we were meant to be." My heart dropped as she looked at me and said, "He doesn't remember you." Desperate, I showed him our wedding photos, but he pushed them away. Then, one night, I played a voicemail he left me before the accident, and his reaction left everyone in shock. "My name's Jenna. I'm 33. I live in Fort Collins, Colorado. I married Rick when I was 27. We were together for a little over 5 years before the accident. Before everything went to hell, Rick was my person. He was calm, thoughtful, the kind of guy who remembered to fill my gas tank if he used my car, the kind who'd cook breakfast without being asked. We had a normal life. Nothing flashy, but it was steady, and it was real. That morning was normal too. Rick kissed my forehead before he left for work. He always did that. Around noon, he left me a voicemail telling me he loved me, said he was thinking of taking me out Saturday. I smiled when I listened to it. Then, 2 hours later, I got a call from a strange number. A trooper told me Rick had been in a car accident near Greeley. A semi-truck swerved into his lane and hit him head-on. He was barely alive. They airlifted him to UC Health. Skull fracture, broken ribs, internal bleeding. He was put into a medically induced coma. I stayed in the hospital for 9 straight days. Slept on chairs. Lived off vending machine coffee. His mom came by sometimes. His brother too. Everyone thought the same thing. If he woke up, we'd deal with whatever came. We just wanted him alive. On day 9, he finally opened his eyes. I was there. I grabbed his hand and leaned in. "Rick, it's me. It's Jenna. I'm here." He stared at me. Didn't blink for a second. Then his eyes shifted. Over my shoulder. At her. Rachel. His ex. I didn't even know she was there at first. I hadn't seen her in years. Last I heard, she moved to Denver after they broke up. She and Rick dated for 4 years before me, but they'd been done for almost a decade. She hadn't even come to our wedding. Then he smiled. Not a weak, confused smile. A real one. "I knew we were meant to be," he said, soft but clear. I froze. I turned around. Rachel was standing behind me. She smiled, this smug little grin, and said, "He doesn't remember you." Like it was nothing. Like I didn't just sit in that ICU for over a week, not knowing if he'd ever wake up. I didn't understand what was happening. I looked at Rick. "It's me, baby. I'm your wife. Jenna. Look at me." He frowned. I don't know you." I felt like the air got knocked out of me. I turned to the nurse. "Can someone explain this to me?" The doctor later said Rick had retrograde amnesia. He remembered things from his childhood, his job, basic stuff, but apparently, he didn't remember the last several years. Including me. But here's the part that didn't sit right. He remembered Rachel. That made no sense. They broke up way before I met him. Rachel started showing up every day. She brought him magazines, his favorite snacks, told stories about their old days. And Rick? He laughed with her, listened to her, trusted her. When I visited, he got tense. Sometimes he wouldn't even look at me. I brought in our wedding album. I sat next to his bed and flipped through every photo. I pointed out his friends, his parents, the cabin in Estes Park where we honeymooned. He looked uncomfortable, like I was some stranger forcing a fantasy on him. Then he pushed the album away. "I'm sorry, but this doesn't feel real to me." Rachel told the nurses she was his emotional anchor. Said I was confusing him. And somehow, people listened to her. Even Rick's mom wasn't fully on my side. She told me maybe we needed to ease him in and not overwhelm him. Meanwhile, Rachel kept rewriting history. She told Rick I'd been a friend of his, that we'd drifted apart, that they had always had something special, and she'd never stopped thinking about him. She was hijacking my life. I tried talking to Rick again. Told him I was his wife. That we lived together. That we had a dog, Max. He shook his head like it physically hurt to hear me talk. So I changed tactics. I remembered that voicemail. The one he left me right before the crash. I found it on my phone. I saved it, made sure the volume was high. Then one night, I waited until Rachel left the hospital. Visiting hours were over, but I begged a nurse to let me stay late. Told her I just needed 10 minutes. Rick was lying there, eyes closed but awake. I sat down beside him. I want you to listen to something, I said. I hit play. Hey babe, just wanted to say I love you. I know I forget to say it enough. You're the best thing that ever happened to me. I'm picking up Thai food, your favorite. Be home in 30. Kiss me when I get in, yeah. Silence. Then I heard him breathe differently. He sat up straighter. His hands gripped the blanket. His voice cracked. I remember that. He looked around the room. At me. Then at the photo on the nightstand, one of our wedding pictures I'd kept sneaking back in. His face changed. She told me we weren't together, he whispered. She said I was single. She lied, I said. You were coming home to me. You told me you loved me an hour before that truck hit you. He looked like he was going to be sick. His fingers dug into his temples. She lied. She lied. Then his eyes snapped to me. Where is she? He demanded to see her. It was late, and visiting hours were long over, but Rick started pulling at his fore like he was going to rip it out. The nurse came rushing in, tried to calm him down. I stood back, watching him panic like a man whose entire world just cracked in half. She lied to me, he kept repeating. She said I didn't know you. Said we were never married. The nurse tried to get him to lay down, but he looked at her dead in the eyes and said, Get Rachel. The next morning, I wasn't there when Rachel showed up. Rick's mom called me later and told me what happened. He confronted her. Hard. She walked into his room smiling like usual, holding one of those overpriced smoothies she always brought him. But Rick didn't take it this time. He asked her flat out, Did you tell me Jenna and I were never married? Rachel's face apparently froze. Then she laughed it off. You were confused, babe. I was just helping you feel safe. He kept pressing. What else did you lie about? Did you tell the nurses you were my partner? She stammered. Said she never meant to hurt anyone. That she was just trying to protect him from stress. But Rick didn't buy it. He told her to leave. Then he told the nurses she wasn't allowed in anymore. But it didn't stop there. I thought maybe, finally, we could start healing. That we could get back to who we were before. But Rick couldn't just let it go. He kept asking questions. Digging. Turns out, Rachel didn't just lie to him while he was in the hospital. She lied to everyone. She told his mom that I'd left Rick after the accident. Said I packed my things and stopped visiting. That I said it was too much for me. She even showed people fake texts from my number, saying things like, I can't do this anymore, and I don't think I ever really loved him. She cloned my number using some app. I didn't even know that was a thing. But Rick's brother is in IT, and when he looked into it, he found the spoofing. She made it look like I abandoned him. Like I never loved him at all. I confronted her at her place. I should have waited. Should have brought someone with me. But I was angry. I wanted her to see my face when I told her she was done. She opened the door and smiled like we were old friends. Look who finally figured it out. I know what you did, I said. I know about the fake texts. The lies. Everything. She didn't even blink. So what? She said. He didn't remember you. He remembered me. You don't get it, Rick, and I were meant to be. You were just a detour. My stomach turned. I told her I was going to the police. That I had recordings, screenshots, and Rick's own statement. She laughed. Go ahead, she said. You really think he'll go through with pressing charges? He's soft. He won't do it. And you? You'll always be second place in his heart now. You think he can unfeel what he felt when he saw me first. Then she slammed the door in my face. But what she didn't know, I was recording the whole thing on my phone. Her confession. Every word. And I wasn't going to stop there. I played the recording for Rick that same night. We were sitting in his hospital room, lights low, the quiet humming of machines the only sound for a moment. He still looked pale, weak, but his eyes had more fire than I'd seen in weeks. When Rachel's voice came through the speaker, cocky, smug, confident, his jaw clenched. "You really think he'll go through with pressing charges?" He soughed, his hands balled into fists under the blanket. "I can't believe I trusted her," he muttered. "I let her into my head. I let her erase you." It was the first time I saw real guilt in his face. Not just confusion or pain, guilt. "You didn't know I told him. You were drugged up, scared, and she took advantage of that." He didn't say anything right away. Just stared at the wall like he was replaying every moment since the accident. Then he looked at me. "We need to make sure everyone knows what she did." I nodded. "I already talked to your brother. He found proof she spoofed my number. And I saved all the security camera footage from the hospital. She told nurses she was your partner. She signed forms." Rick looked sick again. "That's illegal, isn't it?" "Yeah," I said. "And I think she knew that." But here's where it got worse. When we started putting together everything for a legal case, something else came out. Rachel had been in contact with Rick before the accident. Like, way before. Emails, texts, stuff I never saw. Turns out, she'd been reaching out for months. Telling him she missed him. That she was in therapy. That she'd changed. Rick never responded to most of it, or if he did, it was short and polite. But one message stuck out. It was from about a week before the crash. She'd sent him a long message saying she knew he was miserable with me. That she knew he wasn't really happy. That she'd been praying for a second chance. And Rick? He responded. He wrote, "You don't know anything about my life. Stop reaching out." That should have been the end of it. But the more we looked into her timeline, the more things stopped making sense. Like how she just happened to be at the hospital within an hour of the accident. Or how she already knew his room number before I even got there. Or how she somehow got access to his personal records when only family should have had that information. It hit me one night, lying awake on our couch because I couldn't sleep in our bed yet. What if the accident wasn't an accident? I didn't want to believe it. It sounded insane. But the truck driver's report said Rick's car swerved just before the impact. Like he was trying to avoid something in the road. And that's when we found the traffic cam footage. Rick's brother helped me file a request with the Department of Transportation. It took a week to get the footage. When we finally watched it, my blood ran cold. Right before the crash, seconds before, there's a car in the median. Parked illegally. A black SUV. Rachel drives a black SUV. And the plates? Blurry, but you could make out the first few digits. They matched hers. Rick was silent watching the footage. His hand went up to his mouth. "She followed me," he said, voice low. "She was there. She wanted to see it happen," I said. Or cause it. Now, it wasn't just about lies. This was something else entirely. We took everything to the police. The recordings, the texts, the faked messages, and now the traffic footage showing her SUV parked on the side of the highway just before Rick's crash. It was more than enough to open an investigation. Rachel was brought in for questioning. She denied everything at first, called me obsessed, said Rick was confused, and I was manipulating him. But they'd already started pulling her phone records. She'd been near the crash site. Too close. Too soon. It unraveled fast after that. They found a deleted email from Rachel to a friend saying she was going to show him what a mistake he made, and that pain is a great teacher. She'd tried to delete everything, but tech doesn't forget that easily. They arrested her for identity fraud, falsifying medical documents, harassment, and obstruction. They didn't have enough to charge her with anything tied directly to the crash. There wasn't solid proof she caused it, but they were watching her. And Rick? He spiraled. He kept blaming himself. If I had never responded to her, if I hadn't let her in before, but he had to face something else too. He had talked to her before the accident. Even if it was brief, even if it was just to shut her down, it reopened a door. I thought about her once in a while, he admitted to me. Not in a real way. Just in a what-if kind of way. That hurt more than I thought it would. It made all the things she did easier to understand. She saw an open window. And I had to admit something hard to myself, too. I knew she'd been messaging him. He told me once. Said she reached out a few times over the years. I brushed it off. Trusted him to handle it. Told myself it wasn't a threat. But it was. We both made mistakes. We both gave her space to sneak in. After she was sentenced, 6 months in county jail, 2 years probation, I tried to move forward. Rick came home. His memories started to come back in full over the next couple months. He remembered our dog Max. Our honeymoon. The first apartment we rented together that smelled like paint for weeks. But something between us had changed. He couldn't forgive himself. And I couldn't forget the way he looked at her when he first woke up. The way he smiled at her. Like I never existed. It wasn't his fault. But it was real. We tried therapy. We tried long walks, movie nights, new routines. But the truth sat between us like an old scar we couldn't stop touching. 6 months after she was sentenced, Rick sat me down on a rainy afternoon and said, "I love you." I remember everything now. But I think we both know this. It's not the same. I nodded. I already knew. We filed for divorce a month later. Quiet. Mutual. No big fight. Just a slow ending. But I got the dog. And the house. And peace. Rachel ruined a lot. She broke things in a way I didn't think could ever be fixed. But she didn't destroy me. Rick and I talk sometimes. Not often. Just birthdays or holidays. He's dating someone new now. So am I. Sometimes I still hear that voicemail. I kept it. Not as a reminder of him, but of me. Of how I fought when it felt like I was the only one who remembered what we were. I don't hate Rick. But I'll never love him again either. And Rachel? She got out of jail last month. I changed my number. Got cameras on the house. And a new last name. She may have erased me for a while. But I'll never let her rewrite me again.